Hey everybody, it's Andy Kushner, host of The Wedding Biz, in which I conduct in-depth and revealing interviews of icons and who I feel are the next generation icons of the weddings and event industry. This is all to provide education and inspiration for any entrepreneur, but especially those of us in the event industry. So welcome to another episode of The Wedding Biz. I am just feeling so good right now because I was debating whether to talk about this or not, but it feels monumentous. Is that the right way to say it? Monumentous. Anyway, I am sitting at my desk and it's starting to look really nice because I'm actually dusting it. Yes, I have to admit that I've had quite a coat of dust. I'm just running so hard, I don't even notice it. You know what I mean? You know, you get in that zone and there's all these various stacks of papers and little reminder notes all over the place. And you get to the point where, or at least I get to the point where I don't even remember. I don't even see it. You know what I mean? You don't see it anymore. So today's nice, crisp morning, and I just kind of did some nice, longer meditation than usual, and worked out and had a nice long breakfast, slow wake up. It's basically a Saturday, and I'm not working tonight. And I sat here and I focused and I did it. And it feels so good. I just feel cleansed. Anyway, so if you missed last week's episode, it was with Vanessa Krekel of Two Paper Dolls, talking about the art of branding. So many different topics. Vanessa is really, really very, very gifted with her company, Two Paper Dolls. Very worth listening to. So if you missed it, go back last week and hear all about the art of branding is how I'm summarizing it. So this week's guest is really fun for me because she is a wonderful, wonderful film photographer based in Paris. Audrey NERACOULIS. Is that right, Audrey? I believe I have it right. Audrey NERACOULIS. She's based in Paris, and she's known for her just unmistakable fashion, house-inspired aesthetic, and distinctive and sophisticated work. She also brilliantly utilizes social media, particularly Instagram, in ways that I know you're going to be surprised to hear. She also has a great story that will also surprise you about how she got into the business. Very unexpected. And we talk quite a bit about her view on the concept of authenticity and also what she does that's really interesting in terms of helping her marketing and sales when she travels. So there's just so much fun stuff to talk about with this interview. Enjoy my conversation with Audrey NERACOULIS. Audrey, it is so exciting to have you on the show, especially calling in from Paris.
I know. Thank you so much. Bonjour.
Yes, bonjour. I can say that. Let's say, je ne parle pas français. There we go.
That's good enough, I guess.
Well, you know, it's interesting. When I was about 23, I went to Paris for 10 days. It was my first time in France. And I was staying with a friend of mine who was also French. And she said, look, while you're out by yourself, if you need to get help from someone, don't approach them in English, approach them in French and say, I don't speak French. Do you speak English? And I'll get a lot better response from people. And it worked. You know, I would say, je ne parle pas français, parle anglais. And people were much more willing to help me. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think it is changing, but it's true that French people appreciate when people make an effort to connect with them, even if they will eventually reply in English. But I think they don't like when you address to them directly in English, assuming.
That's right. I completely understand that. And it's so funny. Whenever I travel around the world, I always learn, just how to say, hey, I don't speak, your language and in their language. And it really makes a difference.
I know there's a few cultural things, like something, and I tell my bride and groom when sometimes we stop in cafes to take photos, and I'm like, you need to say bonjour, hello first.
Yes.
To the shop, to the boutique, or to the wedding. Don't expect them to say hello first. They will be offended if you don't say hello. Even if I know in the US it's the opposite. The client is not supposed to say hello, but this is it. Yeah, you're invited in their business, in our boutique, and you need to say hello first.
Yeah, no, that's a really great tip. So now, but didn't you live in the States many years back? Weren't you in Kentucky? Isn't that where you started?
I was married to a man from Kentucky, but we never lived there. We lived in New York because I had an American dream. Uh-huh. I was always attracted by the US. I've been raised, in the 90s. So watching all these TV shows, Friends, Sex and the City, that was...
that was your example with Sex and the City?
I know. And Friends, I really had an American dream, and especially New York, and I eventually did it. I had a master in communication and marketing, and I work for Universal Music in a beautiful building in Times Square.
Wow, Universal Music. What did you do for them?
It was all their marketing material when they're launching, like back then it was CDs.
Yes.
So just like contacting all the radio to make sure they play the CD and like all this type of like communication around the launch of a new album. And it was kind of tough for me because I had 2 masters. It was my first job, and I ended up being in a cubicle in New York.
Yes.
It's a pretty busy and lonely city. And that was my first and my last job in an office. It kind of crushed me.
Oh, yeah.
Just because, when I did my master in marketing, my goal was to connect with people, to be surrounded by a team, and eventually the reality of marketing in a big company like that is that you're alone in your cubicle and you hardly speak to any human being. You're just behind your computer.
That's right.
So I actually came back to France to find another job, which I did, working for Boeing, which is also an American company. It was a better job, but still I realized that the office job was just crushing my soul. So it wasn't for me, and I was just trying to find my way to a better life. Pretty early, I just graduated, but I knew I didn't want to be in this type of jobs. And I knew if I started to be in this type of job, I would be safe and I would never move out, like just do something else. So before I even started my professional life like I intended, I moved out and I started to find a passion, which was photography for me.
Where did that passion come from? Were you doing that at any point while you were growing up?
Never.
Oh, really? So
No.
What did you just suddenly thought I like photography? How did it come about?
Not even that. I think I had a master in journalism and marketing. So I think storytelling was really important for me. Of course, as a Parisian girl, I was very attracted by fashion. So I think photography was a way for me to like tell a story, to be surrounded by this visual, to produce visual as well. So that's how I ended up being a photographer. And it was very random. I had a friend, an American friend, who was visiting me in Paris. And back then, we didn't have any, iPhones and selfie was not a thing. And she just told me like, hey, I was in Paris. I would love to have memories of me in Paris. But I was just too afraid to give my camera to a stranger to take my photos, afraid he would run away with it. So maybe you could take photos of Americans traveling to Paris who want to capture memories of our stay in Paris. So that's that random because I never shot before, never took a photo. I'm not a technical girl, so never touched a camera. But it was more like a business idea, but it was a photography artistic idea.
That's interesting. But I guess so first of all, it's really interesting to me. And I know that today the demographic of your clients are mostly American clients who come to France for destination events, destination wedding. But still, before we go there, I'm still trying to understand. So you started from scratch to learn how to photograph. That is so, it was a business decision.
It was a business decision. I know it's my personality, but as soon as she said that, I'm like, there's something there. And I created a website. I created a blog and a Facebook. Back then, Instagram did not exist. I started to do that before I even bought a camera.
Wow.
So that's kind of like doing it the other way, but I first was trying to attract clients before I even knew how to shoot with a camera. Just because I'm the same now, but I feel like I'm kind of testing the water before I even learn the skill. So I wanted to see if I had like a future in this job before I even...
Well, but what did you blog about in order to find out if you could attract clients? What is it that you talked about?
I rented a camera, did a shoot on some friends, put these few photos online, and that's how I got my first clients. So I was pretty much learning as I go. Some people say fake it till you make it. I don't think I was faking it in the sense of like, I was really learning every step of the way. And with each shoot, of course, my pricing was reflecting that. Because it was pretty low at first, it was friend of friends. And then eventually, like, I just raised my price, but also mostly because sometimes you just get these like jobs that change your career. I was just doing like couple photos around Paris for Americans. And then eventually someone, I'm going to get married. Can you do my wedding? And as scared as I was, because I never did, I'm like, yeah, of course I can do that. I do it all the time, And then showed up to this beautiful wedding in this chateau, super scared. but did a good job. And then that's how you get your next job. Sometimes it's that random that you just go to the next step.
But this is fascinating to me that you were able to teach yourself to be a photographer and a very good one at that. I mean, that's just fascinating to me that you were able to do that.
I feel now with YouTube, like with friends as well, you can learn pretty fast. I think what was the most difficult part in our business is just to attract clients. It's all about branding. It's about connecting with the clients. Then you can learn the craft. 2 years ago, for example, I proposed to do video. I'm like, I think video is actually very important. I think it's the future. I think, of course, photo is always going to be around, but video is going to be taking a bigger part now. So I wanted to develop video in my business. But I was like, do I learn video? Because it's complicated and long process. If I don't even know if it's going to be a market for me. So I just advertised, hey, I'm proposing video. And then I just waited to see if anyone was booking before I learned. And eventually some clients booked me for video. And I'm like, okay, now I have 2 months to learn it.
Well, the interesting thing to me is that you figured out a way to attract clients, without, in a sense, well, really not having a business left. If you were giving, let's say you were giving a seminar at a conference of event people on how to attract clients, how to do it best, what would you say to that? How can you summarize what you've done that you attracted clients before you even really got deeply into the industry?
I think back then for me to attract clients, and even now with Instagram, it's really to tell a story. The wedding industry is very personal, even if, some persons say they try to have boundaries and not to make it personal, but I think it's highly personal. You need to have a strong brand. And for me, it was just to share what I liked, what I saw was beautiful in Paris, what I like in fashion. So I think trying to make a personal connection with my clients. And that's even now, that's how it works. I know my brides book me because they like my sense of style, where I live, what I do, and they follow that more than they actually consult my website. That's the first thing they see. It's my life in Paris before they even see.
And again, they're seeing your life in Paris through your own photos. That's what you're saying? So your photos are not even necessarily of weddings or events. It's of your life in Paris. And from what I understand, they love that. They're feeling emotion from it. They're seeing a story, and then they trust that you will be able to capture whatever it is they do. Is that essentially what is happening?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm sharing my life, even my personal life, but for like in Paris. And also, as you said the word trust, and that's a big thing because my clients are mostly Americans, Australian, but like we never meet before their wedding. It's very rare for me to meet them before. So it's all about trust and connection, and that's only made by social media because that's their only way to approach me and to meet me. And that's really strong to connect with them. They feel like they know me before we even see each other on the first day.
Well, and see, this is an interesting point, and I want to make sure that people listening know this, that at least as of today, you have 38,000 Instagram followers. And so you have done such a great job, but I'm hearing that it's not just that you're technically good with social media, but it seems to me it's because, as you say, you're sharing your personal life, which not all of us want to really expose that much, but it sounds like that's kind of the secret for you, is that you are letting your personal life be seen, and people are resonating with that, right? And they're attracted to that. It sounds like that's the key for you.
Yeah, I think they're attracted by realness. Especially lately, we see it a lot, in the media when they don't want to see only pretty photos, because a lot of photographers are capable of taking beautiful photos, edit beautiful photos. We all have a very curated website. I think the clients now, they resonate more with like what's real. They love behind the scenes. Like I can see, I do look at my numbers, my analytics of my Instagram, and they love behind the scenes. They prefer iPhone videos of a shoot, but the actual product, but the actual photo. So they love to see how it's made. There's more and more like immersive experiences. They want to see how, a couture dress is made. They want to see all this documentary on Netflix are so high right now. People want to know what's behind, the pretty boutique, the pretty Instagram. So that's how you can connect with them. When I say personal, I understand some person prefer to stay private. Of course, I curate even what I share. Like I'm not going to share everything.
Yeah.
But you can curate even your personal life to match your brand. Of course, you can't have a brand who's too far from who you are. Otherwise, something's going to be off. They're going to see that it's not authentic. But yeah, you can share some personal things that serve your brand.
So just to dig into that for a moment, I would love to know your process on how you're doing this with the social media. So when you are with a client, I understand, I think you've told me before that you record live as well on your iPhone. The process is what you're saying, right? You're doing that. And I think you were saying it really doesn't take long to make the stories. You record it live on the spot with your iPhone. And apparently people love watching while it's happening. Is that right?
Yes, it's crazy.
That is so interesting. And so, but like you say, you'd like to curate it. I imagine they're also seeing, I don't know if I want to call it mistakes, but they're seeing moments that are not perfect too. Isn't that right?
Yes, they do. And they actually love it. So on the wedding day, of course, I always ask the bride, are you okay with me, sharing anything? I'm careful, the dress hasn't been seen before by the husband not to do it, but I'm always asking. But what's kind of crazy is that my brides who come to me, they actually want to be in my stories. I think this is their 5 minutes of fame. They actually want to be in my stories. So I do Insta stories live the events. It is very quick for me. And I also show the funny side of the wedding. Recently I was at a beautiful wedding, beautiful flowers, beautiful chateau. And yet me and my team were staying in the most awful hotel. And we did some stories about it, laughing about our condition about it, not complaining about it. It was just not well, no good hotel around the chateau, but brides really react to that. My clients react to that. You cannot show only the perfect side because they all know it's not true. And vendors appreciate that you are real, clients as well. It's a good way to connect with them, not to be too fake. I think there's enough fakeness around Instagram recently.
Yeah.
Just be real. And you also show your weaknesses. A few weeks ago, it was pretty funny. It was a bad week for me. I was doing my tax. So I was speaking with my tax lawyer in Excel documents, scanning invoices, this boring side of the business. And I think I did a story about it. And it is not sexy. It's not something that really fit my Instagram. I had so many reactions about it. And that same day, I got a rejection from a submission to a blog. So I was like, okay, great day doing my tax and I'm being rejected. And I had so many comments. People were like, you get rejected? I'm like, all the time. And I was surprised people will expect me to not be rejected. So I had to do an entire live and story just to say, yes, it happens all the time, not once in a while. What you see are my successes and my good photos and the good situation on my feed. But if you look at my stories, I really share also the bad stuff.
But also, how long are you recording? Let's say that you're doing, because I think all of us in the business can, there's plenty to record. How much are you recording? I mean, if you're spending a day with a client, how and when do you decide what to record on your iPhone for Instagram? Or are you just recording hours and hours and hours?
No, it's not that long. First, I'm really quick at doing it. Of course, I'm a photographer, so I kind of have an eye for design and visuals. So pretty much what I'm going to shoot with my camera, it's of course a priority. And once I'm done with that, boom, I take my iPhone, take one shot and share it. So because of that, it's not always perfect. Maybe it's not the best angle, best light, but it always works. That's it. To me, it comes pretty natural. I'm not 15 like teenagers, but yet it still comes natural to me. I'm really fast at sharing, at doing stories, speaking to the camera. That's not a big deal for me. Just like I will do with friends, but I don't know. There's nothing really tricky or difficult for me to do that. And I know also that I'm talking to brides and grooms, potential, past ones, future ones, but also vendors, because my followers are mostly wedding vendors.
Wait, I don't know if I understand that. Most of your photos are of wedding vendors?
No, sorry, my followers.
Oh, your followers. Are mostly...
Well, I know are potentially clients.
Yes.
Most of them are vendors. There's planners looking at me. There's hotels, videographers, other photographers. So I know that the wedding industry is looking at each other. So when I'm doing stories, I know that I'm talking to two targets. I'm talking to my clients, past and future. And also, I know that I'm being seen by either my competition or vendors or people I work with.
So in terms of the people in the wedding industry that see it, is it that they are recommending you? Is that what you're getting out of that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm recommended by planners because right now I'm doing pretty high-end weddings and they all have planners. So I know it's a way for them to recommend me and to show them who I am. Because again, like I never meet my clients. It's extremely rare. Maybe once a year we meet a client for their wedding next year. But usually they follow me on Instagram. They obviously like my work, but then they like my personality. And then they email me checking for pricing. And if they can afford me, then they book me. There's not a lot of discussion over the phone. I'm not trying to convince them. They already know me from my stories.
Well, then what is your process? If you're not really able to communicate that much ahead of time, you're doing it when they arrive. What is your process in order to connect with them and to understand what they desire if you're only meeting them for the first time when you're getting ready to shoot?
As soon as they book me, I have a pretty good process of of course, telling them who I am, but also asking about their wedding. I work really closely with our planner. And also I try to really tell them what I need in order to get the photos that they see. And I say that because if you look at my Instagram or my work or my website, I have a signature look. I always take it as a compliment, but people tell me, oh, I could see it was your photo before I even read the credits.
How would you describe your look? How do you describe your style?
Well, it's very feminine. First, it's very timeless. I am influenced by Paris. Even when I shoot, I was just doing a wedding in New York 2 weeks ago. New York, Italy, I always bring this little Parisian flair to my photos. So it's very feminine and classic and timeless. And I do some boudoir shoot as well. So I bring that to my wedding photos, but so they can recognize my work. But in order to get this look, I need things from them. So I need good light. I need a good timeline. Location is everything, of course, like the light. So as soon as they book me with a planner and with them, I try to work in advance on how the day is going to look like, which time I have to get these photos. Couple photos are very important. The lighting, the details is very important, especially high-end wedding. Now they invest so much in flowers, decor, all these things. But as a photographer, you need the time to capture it. So that's like a teamwork with them and their planner ahead of their wedding. And that's something I communicate. So even if we never met, I do send them all these guidelines, and I work closely with our vendors to make sure we have the best photos. So even if we never met before, we are a team. As soon as they book me, we're a team up to their wedding.
I love that. I want to ask too, connected to all of this and what you're talking about, I believe, I don't know if I saw it in an article or on a website, but your vision was, this is a quote, you said, a delicate balance between fashion photography and cinematic documentary style. What do you mean by that?
Well, I love, and I realize it years after years, I love to produce shoots myself. I work often for brands, designer brands or hotels. I just did a shoot at the Ritz during the fashion week. So I love fashion and I love to produce shoots, and I love to bring that into the wedding because, again, wedding, it is a photojournalism approach because it's a live event. Things are happening and you're here to capture that. But I think people who come to me, they want this more fine art approach to their wedding. They want you to create these beautiful portraits. And sometimes the reality is not that perfect. And they count on me and my team to create these moments to kind of pose and just be like, wow, this is beautiful. Let's work on that to make it even better. So this is when I blend fashion, because if you've been on a fashion shoot, everything takes a lot of work just to get something that looks easy and simple. It takes a team, it takes a village.
Yes.
So I try to bring that in a wedding. Not only photojournalism, spray and shoot and just hope to have a good photo. I do that for everything that's live, the ceremony, cocktails, pitches, of course, all these things are like journalism. You're here to capture what's happening, but getting ready, details, couple photos. There's so many moments you can actually create. And this is where my experience in fashion and editorials jump in. And I help them to get these beautiful portraits.
Interesting. And well, now also another aspect that you mentioned was that on the site says that your passion for light and storytelling lend you a special ability to capture the emotional and physical connection between your subjects. Can you say more about that? Capturing the emotional and physical connection between them.
So on a wedding day, there's a lot of stress going on. And sometimes, and unfortunately very often, the couple kind of forget why they're here, because they are so caught up with organizations, the pressures, the family, because you're putting on a show, for everybody. So because I'm comfortable and I know I'm now I'm technically like great with my cameras, and I'm very fast. I'm very fast. When people get photographed by me, they are shocked by how fast I am. So I'm very fast. So I know I can focus on the emotions, and I can kind of like recenter them and tell them like just to focus on each other. I still, of course, try to capture the best photo on the technical part, but to them, this is seamless. I'm really here to like put them at the center of the image, remind them that it's their wedding. I even try to like make them speak about how they met, personal stories, even jokes. Like I do a lot of like jokes, as bad and good as they are, but like I really try to like break the ice here and to tell them to focus again on themselves.
Oh, to bring about that. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That is such a great point, because you were mentioning the stress. I mean, it's a wonderful positive experience, but there is a lot of stress involved with all of this, and there's vulnerability. There's so many things to deal with. So I love how you're talking about, bringing them back to the two of them. Yeah. How did you meet?
I always try to always ask them like, how did you meet? How did you propose? Always ask them like something embarrassing, like a cute story, to kind of like forget about, the planner rushing them to enter the room, or their parents being difficult, or, there are like some situation, divorce, whatever. There's so many reasons around them, but it's like, sometimes it's a mess. It's a circus. So I always try to just isolate them, and the couple photos session is a perfect moment for that, because it's after the wedding. Everybody's seen them. The wedding is kind of over. And I just try to like remind them why they're here, and to get like these personal stories out of them. So.
Okay, now I'm just trying to understand for a minute. So you're saying some of the shoots you're doing are after the wedding is over.
Yeah, like sometimes they can do the couple photos the day of the wedding, because the logistic is too complicated, too difficult. So we can do that either like 1 hour after the wedding, or like another day. Often I will do that on another day, because they want to include locations who are far apart. We have a destination wedding. I just did a wedding in Marrakesh last year in Morocco, and they wanted to really focus on their family on the wedding day. So then we did the couple photos. Actually, it was the day before, just because they want to focus. That's a good thing with destination. Like they're usually there for a few days, and you can sequence different parts of the day.
Yes. I want to go back for a moment earlier. You mentioned that because you also do boudoir, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, that it also informs your style and, the way you shoot. What is the connection between doing boudoir and then actually shooting the couple?
So boudoir is always like very intimate portraits, usually of the bride. And that comes from fashion, like all this type of photography. And that influenced my getting ready photos during the wedding, and then my couple session, because I try to make it very high-end and fashion. And I don't like look into the camera and smile, because that's the opposite of what I do. And this is why I go back to my roots of fashion and boudoir. It's like, it's very subtle. It's sexy, but not like in a trashy way, just like very subtle and very editorial. So that's why I bring that back.
I see. I love that. So you're adding a sense of sensuality to the photo shoot. I love that.
Which I think is this Parisian thing. Like it's never, if you've been in Paris, I don't know if you've been a few times, but you will see like girls are not like overdone with hair, not overdone with makeup, but there's still something very feminine about them. We don't overdo it, but there's always something which is like in fashion, like because the line between like cheesy and fashion is really fine, but you need to find it to be sensual.
Yeah, it's what you're saying. It's interesting. I have been to Paris a few times. I noticed what you're talking about, and in Italy too. It's so interesting what you're saying. I didn't think about it that way, but that's right. And also, you shoot film, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Now, that's interesting. I mean, that's a big decision, isn't it? Because 98% of people are shooting digital. I can assume, but if you could tell me why film? Why are you choosing to shoot on film?
Film. When I started on digital, and that's how I learned so fast. Because, digital, you like shoot and right away you can see if you did a good job or not. But then the trend, and I think you had Jose on your show for an interview, like
Jose Villa, yeah.
And I swear I was like, who is this guy? Like I need to try. Like I was really curious. So that's how I started, like just like following his steps. And at first I hated it. And I hated it because it is technically it's challenging. Because of course you don't see what you're doing right away.
That's right.
It's older camera. There's no manual automatic focus. So at first I was kind of challenged by it, which for me, it's always like very challenging and interesting. So I keep doing it. Then I found a perfect lab for me, which is Carmencita. And then this is when I got my look. Look, the colors that I do, my black and whites, the richness of the colors. That's how I found my look. And now I love it because, and that's why I shoot so fast, is because on a roll, you have 16 frames. So you better know what you want. You better be very focused on the couple, on the focus, on the styling. Like, I'm not going to shoot if the hair are not perfect, if there's someone in the background. Like, you are very intentional when you do film. And it really made me a better photographer, which I used to, like, everybody was saying that before and I didn't get it. But then when you start shooting film and you are technically limited, this is when you get better because you don't have that many chances to create the perfect photo.
That's right. So every single shot counts.
Counts, yeah.
But that seems like a lot of pressure too.
It is.
How do you feel the pressure?
I do feel it. I feel it because it's like, again, you cannot see what you did. There is a pressure sending you film. You need to ship it to your lab, hoping it's going to make it. And then they need to do a good job and then they ship it back to you. So there is like a process, touching wood, but I never had any bad thing happen. I don't know. It is a challenge sometimes technically, but it always makes me better. You have to be creative, because light is so important in film. So I'm always looking for the good light. I'm not like, okay, that's good enough. No, it's never good enough. I need to make it perfect to make sure it's going to shine. So he does force you. The limitation of film force you to be a better photographer.
Ah, I see.
Because on wedding day, there's a lot of technical challenge for photos. You don't have time. You don't have the good light. Everything is rushed. You have a change of situation and light extremely quickly. And with film, you need to slow down. So that's why I'm so prepared ahead of time with the planner, with the couple. I'm kind of a control freak, but I'm really engaged with them on the timeline before when that's going to happen. I'm always very prepared when I come to a shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to me, again, the limitations, but also the benefits of film. Well, let's talk about that. What do you feel the benefits of film are?
Clearly, for me, the look. Even with like presets and editing, spending hours in editing, I can see a film photo out of a digital photo right away. I do shoot digital when the light is not good, when it's very dark indoors at night, because you want to capture the colors at night, and digital can be the best way. I can see the look right away, and really I can see the connection with the couple because I'm focused on them. I'm not looking at my screen. I'm always looking at them in the eyes, and I can see huge difference when I shoot them on film. At first, they're curious, but like, what are you doing? Because, I need to get close to them physically to get my light reader. It's a different process. They're not used to it, and they kind of let their guards down just because it's so different.
Yeah. I want to also ask kind of on a different topic. I know that, you travel a lot and I believe we spoke on the phone a while ago when we planned this. You mentioned that when you're coming to New York City or even for holidays, when you're going to Bali or anywhere in the world, that you end up getting jobs wherever you travel. How do you do that? How do you get that to happen?
Well, I'm lucky enough that as a photographer, of course, I can work pretty much anywhere. Even on my personal time when I go on holidays, what I will do in advance on Instagram, I will announce it, both in Insta stories and in my feed, giving my dates. And if anyone want to book me, they can contact me, and I'm always booked eventually.
That is where and what kind of places in the world have you been where you did this, where you announced it on Instagram and then you did get booked? What kind of countries have you?
Well, New York recently, I just went on holidays in New York for 10 days. I was by myself because my boyfriend was working. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be by myself for 10 days. So I just put that online and I got like 3 bookings or 4.
3 or 4? That's amazing.
Because it's a great way to get clients because they know where you are, when you're going to be there. Because not everybody can come to Paris. So you kind of bringing Paris to them. I also sometimes meet couples like, oh, I was thinking of getting married in Paris. It would be great to have coffee and to like speak about it. I meet some vendors, also planners, like, oh, you're going to be in my city. Let's meet and connect. So I feel social media, I know some people criticize it, but it's amazing to connect with clients, with vendors. It's not just you hiding behind a screen. It's actually allowing you to make real life connection with the wedding industry.
So just so it's because sounds absolutely brilliant to me. Not just getting the photo shoots, but like you said a moment ago, you will, you're networking, you're meeting people. So when you announce on Instagram, for example, that you're going to you're going to Florence on, October 5th, and people contact you. So is it people are just reaching out to get together to connect too, you're saying? So people who you don't know, and how do you decide whether or not it's worth your time to meet with somebody?
It depends. Like sometimes it's usually people I've been following that engage back with me. And often when there's too many person trying to connect with me, like it happened in New York, what I do is that I do a meetup.
Ah, that's brilliant. So they all come at one time. You have a meetup.
Yeah. I know myself, I won't spend less than 2 hours. That's just my French, blah, blah, blah. I'm always talking. So I know that even a quick coffee is going to end up being like 2 hours. And I cannot multiply 2 hours by like 10%, let's say. So what I did is that I, try to find the best date for everybody. And then we met in a cafe. And that's how I made
That is fantastic. And then you're helping people also themselves network with other people at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. That's really good for that because you can be a makeup artist and a florist and all these things. So I do help them connect. I share with them because I do also some mentoring session. I did some workshop in the past. Now I'm doing retreats. So I really love to help people connect. And it's funny because we kind of all have the same challenges, the same fears. So it's very interesting to meet in person and to be able to share that.
No, I love that idea. I love that idea. So, you mentioned retreats. Can you tell me about that? What are your retreats all about?
So, as I told you, Instagram for me is a great way to communicate to my clients, but it's not only a one-way communication. It allows you to really listen to them as well, to know what they like. And that can be just by the comments, the number of likes, or the direct messages are great, the reaction of people. And I noticed maybe 3-4 years ago that even former brides of mine were still following me, were still commenting. They were still dreaming of Paris. Even if they had their wedding, they are still dying to come back and to have another event here. So I decided to create this amazing experience, this immersive experience in Paris, including some beautiful hotels and behind the scene of shoots, hair and makeup class, flower class. I tried to show them the best of Paris and to do this 5-day stay retreat in Paris. And it was kind of a workshop in the sense of I was showing people how I was doing shoots, but on a more editorial way. It wasn't a workshop in the sense of, we're going to sit and I'm going to show you PowerPoint presentation of how I do my business. It was more like a conversation and showing them the behind the scene.
Wow, that is really fascinating. So how many people do you accept for each retreat?
Yeah, so the first one, it was, I wanted 10, but I ended up at 12. And we had more people, but I wanted to cap at 10 at first. I did one in Provence this year, and it was 10. And I'm doing one next year in Paris. And I think we're going to accept up to 20% just because the demand has been so high. And I cannot do multiple a year because there's too much work involved with just doing one. But what's great is that came from Instagram, because I decided to do the retreats based on what people wanted. And I only got this demand thanks to Instagram. Because again, it's not a one-way. You're not using Instagram just to push your services and trying to sell and sell. It's a great way to know what people want, what they're interested in. And you can really adapt your offer thanks to Instagram. So you need to listen, you need to engage with them. You can't just put a pretty photo and never look at Instagram again. You need to read the comments, you need to engage with them, you need to reply. And then this is a client who actually telling you what they want.
So Audrey, this is something, obviously all of us, in any aspect of the event industry can do is to go into social media. Let's say again, Instagram, in order to find out what potential clients, want from us. I think that's a great idea. But how do you do it? Do you put out a question, or do you just engage one-on-one with people with direct messaging? How do you find out what people want? Literally, how do you find out?
Two things. I do sometimes do open questions. I put a photo with a comment and then an open question, but it doesn't really get me anywhere most of the time. What I see is that people reacting to my stories by direct messages. And this is in the direct messages that I see what people want.
Are you asking them when you hear from somebody and you then go into direct message? For example, myself, I really want to engage more and more with my listeners, and so I'm mentioning that people can email me, but at the same time, I'm really watching on Instagram when people make comments, and I'm reaching out to them with direct message. And so my process has been to say to them, for example, I'd love to know, what is it that you're really struggling with in your business that you would love to get help with? And that's working for me, but it's slow, right? Because it's just one at a time. But is that also how you're doing it? Are you just being patient?
I am being patient because I feel like, when you see the comments under an image, because it's public, people will be pretty basic. Like they will say, amazing, great, da da da.
Right, that's right, yeah.
It doesn't go anywhere. They don't really ask precise questions. They only do direct messages. So I do reply to every single messages and comments. And I feel I can engage more in direct messages, because anything public, people will just stay on the surface and you won't know what they want. So you need to take the time. But I'm a wedding photographer, but communication is 70% of my day. I don't take photos as much as I'm spending time on social media, doing emails, going to like events, like engaging with people. This is what I do 70% or 80%. That's what I do. It's communicating and trying to like get a feel of what people want. And then I propose that. Taking photos, it's the smallest part of my business.
Now, how much time with the social media platforms? I assume it's mostly Instagram. Being in the wedding business, are you also? How much time? What percentage of your time are you spending on Instagram versus Facebook versus LinkedIn or whatever else that you use that works for you?
I do mostly Instagram. My Facebook is synchronized with Instagram. So to be honest, I don't do anything on Facebook. It's just been, pretty much copied from my Instagram. And I noticed, I don't know what's the science behind it, but Facebook, it's mostly far more brides, but I don't have potential bride. I don't have vendors so much. So Instagram is huge right now. I'm also working on newsletter just to get a direct connection with them. Because when you do have something to offer, I realize, Instagram is not seen by all of your followers. It's pretty frustrating sometimes. And sometimes I feel that I'm repeating myself. But then when I ask some friends or vendors, they didn't see my post. Because, the algorithm in Instagram is like crazy mystery.
That's right.
So you need to repeat the messages in different, by email, by Facebook, in stories, just to be sure it's heard.
That's interesting.
Seen.
Yeah.
It's pretty frustrating. But last year, when I did my retreat for Provence, I felt that I communicated about it. And then eventually a vendor that I know is following me was like, oh, when is it? I didn't hear that you were doing something. I'm like, how come? I've been saying it for a month. So you need to have a diverse way to communicate with your potential clients, because just Instagram is kind of dangerous and potentially could die tomorrow. A few weeks ago, it kind of went down for 2 days or at least one day. That can happen. So you can't put all your eggs in the same basket.
That's right. That's right. So when is your next retreat?
My next retreat is in May 2020 at the Ritz.
At the Ritz in Paris.
Yeah, no, I didn't announce it yet because it's not official. But it's going to be at the Ritz because I want to, and again, I shoot a lot of wedding at the Ritz, and most of my followers are dreaming to come at the Ritz. But, if you don't have a wedding there, like if you don't have an occasion to celebrate there, there's little chances you're going to do an event there. So that's why I'm doing my retreat there, because my retreat, on top of all the daily activities and connection and networking, we end up by, like in Engage, doing a gala night with our partner, and it's going to be at the Ritz. So
oh, nice.
put a tux and a beautiful dress and come to celebrate at the Ritz.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you're shooting the whole time.
Exactly. And also it's a partnership with the Ritz because they get photos out of it.
Ah, that's right.
It always communicates on the weddings because, for whatever reason, it could be like the client is private or there's so-and-so at the wedding, so you can share the photos. So what I do is that we do this giant shoot in the afternoon. If there are photographers coming, they can take photos of it for their own portfolio. And I shoot for the Ritz. They can get all the visuals and video. And then we sit at night for the gala. So it's a win-win for everybody because everybody needs visuals and everybody can communicate.
And just the last point of the retreat, and again, from what I understand, you know, it's not only at the venue that you hold the retreat, but you're taking people on a tour and shooting during the entire tour and teaching. And that's part of what they're getting out of it as well, is to see the city that they're in, the country that they're in.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to do like, a workshop. That's why I didn't call it a workshop, where you sit in a room and you have a slideshow.
Yeah.
I don't like going to this kind of event, so I didn't want to do it. So it's pretty much, it's a conversation. Like, we have this fabulous dinner and, open mic. Whoever want to speak of anything, we can jump in, because it's not just me sharing my wisdom, because I have some info, but I don't know everything. But it's a round table, everybody's sharing their experiences, and sometimes it's similar, sometimes it's not. But I think we can all learn, from the group. So it is a conversation. It's always nice to do that. We have some cooking class. You'll be surprised how much you can learn from a cooking class. Not so much on how to make this macaron or this pasta, but just random conversation. That's how people.
Yeah, you're providing that. Well, and just, my last question for people those who are photographers and who are listening, what is the equipment that you're using?
So I have a lot of cameras. Mostly it's my Contax 645, which is a medium format film cameras. I have a Hasselblad, and then I am a Canon girl, but I'm about to switch to Fuji, but also digital.
Okay.
But I have way too many cameras, but you want to be safe, so you have so much backup. I always end up using only 2 cameras, but yeah, it's mostly Contax for the film. And of course, my lab cam and Sita is a huge part of my business.
Yes, that's right. Well, I will get all the links that we're talking about, your Instagram handle, the information for the retreats. We'll put all of that in the show notes. Although, can you just tell me here on the microphone, what is your Instagram handle so people can go right to that?
Yeah, of course. My Instagram is Audrey Paris Photo. And my website is lesecretdaudrey.com, which is very French, I know. It's not a good name. It's a long story about the name, but yeah, it's not a good name. But Instagram is the best way to reach me.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. And again, I'm going to put all the links in the show notes as well. Well, Audrey, thank you so much. I found you. I think if I remember, we found each other because of your Instagram.
I know.
That's how we found each other.
I left you a comment because I love your show.
That's what it is. Yes, thank you. You are so sweet to see.
I think it's thanks to Engage. I don't know. Someone spoke about you. I check your Instagram right away.
Oh, well, that's sweet.
Because you see that in events. Like, now people don't like, what's your business card? What's your email? It's like, what's your Instagram?
Right.
People are going to check. So I checked your page, and I was like really impressed by all the interview you got. And it's pretty much everybody I want to hear from. So I got pretty much hooked on your podcast.
Well, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. And it is a really good point, though, is that's true. I mean, because I do the same as you. I try to respond to every single comment that I get. And so when I saw that, I remember then, looking at your Instagram and thinking, oh my God, who is this? This is amazing. I was just knocked out by what I saw and started following you. And so the power of Instagram, right? That's the power of Instagram. So, well, thank you, Audrey. Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I hope I will see you in Paris eventually.
Oh, definitely. I'm gonna take your advice anytime I travel. I love the idea of putting out several posts, as I learned from you, is saying, hey, I'm going to be in this particular city, this particular date. I think it's just a great idea. And creating meetups in addition to the one-on-ones, I think it's a wonderful idea. Wonderful idea. So thank you for that too.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for listening to my interview of Audrey NERACOULIS. Be sure to check out her site. It is, I don't know how to say it. It's in French. It means in English, The Secret Audrey. It's Les Secret Audrey. I'm going to spell it LESECRETDOUDREY.com. But go to the show notes. You'll get it there. Her social media handle for Instagram is Audrey Paris Photo. Again, for Instagram, and be sure to check it out. Audrey Paris Photo. On Facebook, it's similar to the spelling for her website. Again, best to go to the show notes. You'll see the links there. If you enjoyed this, please share it with people who you feel can benefit from it or just simply enjoy hearing all about Audrey. And if you could review it, that would also help new people to find the show. And I'm always very grateful when you share and review it. And don't forget to listen to our follow-on segment that comes out every Wednesday with each interview called The Next Level. in which I have a guest co-host, and together we tease out some of the highlights of the interview and talk through them and help deliver specific tactics and tips and strategies for you to use to raise your own business to the next level. So be sure to check in Wednesday, and our guest is going to be someone who I love having on the show, Jennifer Stein, editor-in-chief of Destination I Do magazine. So tune in on Wednesday. For next week, we're going to have videographers or film. I really like to refer to as film, and that is going to be Lindsay and Cherish of Le Rev Films. So be sure to tune in next week. They are awesome. And finally, subscribe to the podcast. And also, you can follow us on Instagram at The Wedding Biz. And we want to thank our sponsor for today, and it's Kushner Entertainment. Just incredible music and entertainment, works worldwide with a very high-touch approach. You could check out the website of Kushner Entertainment, and we'll catch you next week on The Wedding Biz.